Hello everyone, welcome to a World of Warship Blitz video, and today's video is not about the Duke of York, it is about the King George V. Now, unfortunately, I have gone and done something a bit foolish with the King George V. I have gone and upgraded it completely. Now, the other ships that are here are not upgraded, so for me to do a comparison, I have on another phone, which you can't see because that's just not the way things work. I have the other ships. Let's get it to standard because I've taken all the camos off those because not all of them have camos. I have, that's it, that's what we want. I have another phone. So I can do a comparison for upgraded ships. They are all fairly much the same equipment apart from the Gneisenau, which has secondaries rather than main battery. Let's go and have a look, shall we? The King George V has a whole lot of interesting historical stats, blah, 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 blah. Right, down to game stats. Survivability. So 43,125 hit points, citadel protection of 13.75, fire and flooding resistance of 12.5, damage reduction of 14.18, and torpedo damage reduction of 12. So I wonder if I have, I wonder what's causing all that. Anyway, so let's have a look at the, let's compare it with something that's relatively similar. So you can see it's got two turrets at the front, one turret at the rear. Let's compare it with the Nagato, which I'll pull up on my other phone and have a look at the stats there. So survivability for the Nagato is basically the same, 43,585, so about 400 points more. 12.5% citadel protection rather than 13.75. That 13.75 looks like a very unnatural figure. Anyway, 12.5% flooding and fire resistance. Damage reduction is 14.18%, which I wonder what's affecting that. Oh, no, they've all got supplies, whatever. Okay, and torpedo damage reduction 12% versus 18% for the Nagato. So the Nagato is a bit more hit points, weaker citadel, but not by much. Basically the same damage reduction, perhaps a little bit more, and torpedo damage reduction of 18% is phenomenally better. Colorado. So the Colorado, fully upgraded, has 44,000 hit points, 275, so basic 44,275 is 1,100 more hit points than what we have here. 12.5% citadel protection, not quite as good. Flooding and fire resistance at 15% is a lot better. Damage reduction at 15% is a lot better, and the torpedo damage reduction at 22.5% is significantly better. However, it is a much slower ship, and you'll get hit a lot more by torpedoes. Gneisenau. Now, I can't do the Leon because I have the Leon on the press account, and I don't quite have enough blueprints to upgrade it. Now, I'm only about 10,000 away from getting it on my own account, but the Leon, yeah, well, okay. Sorry guys, you're just going to miss out on the comparison with Leon. Anyway, the Gneisenau, let's make sure that we've, oops, touching screens to make sure that phones don't go to sleep on me. Right, let's go. Survivability for the Gneisenau is 42,320, so about 800 less. 17.5% citadel protection, that's what we've seen with the Bismarck, and that's a pretty good number, and that explains why the Gneisenau doesn't get citadeled as much. Flooding and fire resistance 12.5%, so it catches fire a little bit more easily. Damage reduction 15%, and torpedo damage reduction of 13.5. So basically, from a sturdiness point of view, the Monarch is probably the weakling. Obviously, the Leon unupgraded is going to be significantly worse, but even looking at those citadel protection rates, damage reduction and all the rest of it, the King George V really does come out on top of that. However, yeah, it's not fully upgraded. Right, so speed maneuverability, 27.93 knots. We know it's going to be faster than the Colorado and faster than the Nagato. 23 seconds to get to full speed, which, well, doesn't seem too bad. Interestingly enough, the traverse speed is the same as the Monarch, which is a tier 8 at 5.4 degrees per second, but a slightly faster turn time by 2 seconds at 12.78. So let us go and compare that with the Gneisenau, which I've got here. It's 30 knots, so it's 3 knots slower than the Gneisenau. It's 5 seconds faster to get to 30 knots because the Gneisenau is 28 knots, 28 seconds, sorry. The Gneisenau turns faster at 5.6 degrees per second with a turn time of 12 seconds. So this is not as agile as the Gneisenau, and I didn't consider the Gneisenau a very agile ship. It also, the Gneisenau is very long and a torpedo net, which doesn't help. Right, Nagato, let's have a look at, see what we've got in the way of speed and maneuverability. 24.87 knots, so basically just shy of 25, whereas this is shy of 28, so this is 3 knots faster. 22.28 seconds to full speed, this is 23, so probably accelerating at probably about the same rate. 5.1 degrees traverse per second, whereas this is 5.4, and turn time is 13.8 rather than 12.78, which means that it's actually, this is more agile than the Nagato, Gneisenau being the most agile of them all. However, I suspect this may not be quite as long as the Gneisenau. Okay, we're comparing it with the Colorado now. This is 8 knots faster, 7.5 knots faster. So it's 20.42 knots maximum speed for the Colorado, and it feels like it. I really struggle with this ship. The Colorado is just so slow. Time to full speed is 25.99 seconds, so essentially 26 seconds. So 3 seconds longer to get to the really low full speed. Maximum traverse speed is 4.8 degrees per second, which is 0.6 slower. So the Amagi is a very slow turner at 4.8 degrees per second. This is slow. Turn time is 13.5 seconds, 5.7, which is basically a second longer than the King George V, sorry, not the Monarch, this is King George V. So the King George V is behind the Gneisenau from an agility perspective, but basically is the most agile in the game apart from, well, the Leon's. Okay, so third most agile, right, because the Leon, the upgrades don't affect those stats. Right, let's go have a look at some guns. So it's got 10, it's got 2x4 and 1x2, 6 at the front, 4 at the back, 19.5 seconds reload. Let's go have a look at the Gneisenau. The Gneisenau has 18 seconds reload, so there you go. This has a 13.3 kilometre range, whereas the Gneisenau has a 13.29. Okay, HE damage, 1100. Not bad, 14% fire chance and 13.8% AP, 1380 AP damage. Right, comparing it with the Gneisenau, the Gneisenau reloads faster by 1.5 seconds, shoots a little bit further by 0.26 of a kilometre, but does way less HE damage at 943 with a 9% fire chance, but does way more AP damage with a 17.25. 1725 AP damage if you can hit anything with its 6 guns. So although it has a faster reload, it has 4 less guns. It has dispersion that is shocking. So yeah, you need every advantage you can get. So let's go compare the King George V with the Nagato. And the Nagato has a second slower reload. I think it might have an elite bonus because it's got 20.37 seconds, which is just an oddball number. It's an indication there's probably something in there. It shoots further, 13.67 kilometres rather than 13.03, so 0.64 of a kilometre further shooting range. It does 1150 HE damage with 13% fire chance. So basically this does 46 less HE damage, but has a 14% fire chance. It has 10 guns rather than 8 guns on the Nagato. However, the Nagato eats this for dinner for AP damage because the Nagato does 1817 damage from an AP. And turret traverse speed is 6 degrees per second. I think the base traverse on the Nagato, when I back out the the equipment and the elite bonuses will probably be about 6 degrees per second as well. So the Nagato has better guns, but the King George V has probably the best fire chance, and probably the least reason to fire AP. Colorado, 21 seconds reload, so a second and a half slower, 14.5 kilometre range. I think that there's actually a range elite bonus in there somewhere. 1,093 HE damage, so basically almost the same, 13% fire chance, 1% less, 1,783 AP damage. So basically the Nagato and the Colorado do way better AP damage, way better even than the Gneisenau now, go figure. They've got 8 guns, this has got 10 guns, so, you know, so on raw numbers, maybe this looks a little bit weak, but that HE, pretty good damage, pretty good fire chance, 10 guns, don't go to sleep, and yeah, so its AP is probably a little bit lacking, and it'll probably come down to the dispersion. Secondary guns, whoops, wrong phone. Secondary guns, it has manual secondaries only, it has 8 per side, so 16 of them in these nice little turrets, very nice and neat. 7 second reload, 12 and a half, 7 second reload, 5.74 kilometre range, 330 damage, 2% fire chance. Compared to the Colorado, which has 18 rather than 16, so this has got 8 times 2, the Colorado has 18 times 1. 6 second reload, so faster reload. 5.74 kilometre range, exactly the same range. Slightly less damage, 288 versus 334 with a 2% fire chance. So it has a roughly 46 less damage. Doing maths in my head, but it has more guns and they fire faster. So the secondaries on this, on the Monarch, I found the secondaries apart from versus the Gascon, which is the tier 8 French battleship, it had the weakest secondaries. Right, let's go compare it with the Nagato. The Nagato has a ton of secondaries as well, at 18 of them. 7.5 second reload versus 7 seconds, so a bit slower. 6.8 kilometre range, which is not 0.3, 0.26 further range, but its secondaries, it feels like it. Wow, the Nagato has 391 HE damage and 4% fire chance, so that is pretty darn nice. So yeah, so this comes in definitely a distant fourth on secondaries. Gneisenau has it actually has secondaries and auto secondaries. It only has 4 times 2 and 4 times 1s, which is 12. 7.38 second reload, because I think there's an elite bonus in there. 7.43 kilometre range, 575 AP damage and a 150% citadel damage chance. So basically it doesn't light fires, but man, those shoot a fair distance, and you spend a lot of time working the secondaries and the Gneisenau to be sure. Actually spend a lot of time switching between those torpedoes, the main guns and the secondaries, and it is a painful ship to drive. Take it from me, my personal opinion is that initially I thought the Tirpitz was a stronger ship than the Bismarck, but I'm of the strong opinion that I'm doing much better in the Bismarck than I'm doing in the Tirpitz, because I'm not mucking around with those stupid torpedoes. Okay, rant done. Let's go have a look at some AA damage, shall we? We'll compare it with Gneisenau first, because I suspect that it's probably going to compare fairly well here, and it does. So this has slightly less, so it's 202 AA damage, which is 7 less than the 209 for the Gneisenau. This has a 3.9 kilometre range, same as the Monarch, rather than 3.3 for the Gneisenau. And it has 179, which is about 55 more than the 124 for the Gneisenau. So basically this better small AA, longer range, but still not a strong AA ship. Let's go have a look at the other end of the spectrum, which is the Colorado. Well, is it the other end of the spectrum? Well, here we go. That's pretty revealing. Larger caliber AA damage for the Colorado is 129 rather than 202. And it has a 3.6 rather than 3.9. So there you go. It has 223 small caliber AA for one, which means that it actually has about 46, if I do my maths right. Better a small caliber AA, still 1.5 kilometer range. The concealment for the King George V here at 10.5 kilometers is better than the 11.7 of the Colorado and the 10.92 of the Genizer now, but still it's a battleship. Concealment is, yeah, what are you worried about concealment for? Okay, it is the best AA ship. I'm just comparing it with Nagato, which has 110 large AA, which is basically about 92 less than what we're seeing here, so nearly halved. 3.6 kilometer range rather than 3.9. The Nagato has slightly better small caliber AA at 310, which is around about 40 more, 41. No, 31 more than what we've got here. And a 1.5 kilometer range, and the Nagato with its tall, extremely tall pagoda tower has 11.6 kilometer surface detection. Right, now we can stop the comparison, which is good because I was getting a bit confused there and I think I was going to lose it. Let's go have a look at what the ship has in the way of special stuff. Rapid reload 1, 2 of them, and basically if I click it more slowly, it'll tell us what it does. Increases main battery gun reload speed by 15% for 20 seconds, cooldown time 75 seconds. The Monarch has main rapid reload 2, which is 30% increase for 20 seconds. So, yep. And let's go have a look at the camo. What do you get when you get the camo? And I've got the camo is all the standard battleship stuff. Plus 4% hit points, plus 4% main battery range, minus 4% main battery shell dispersion, which is why you get the historical camos, plus 6% torpedo damage reduction, and unlike the Monarch, the camo on the ship actually looks nice. Reminds me a bit of the Warspite, but you know, sort of crazier angles. Right. The final things that we need to look at are what are the main options here. What did I choose? Damage reduction of 5%, citadel protection of plus 10%. Torpedo damage and flooding and fire resistance plus 7. They are pretty good, plus 1% hit points, which is probably, is that 400 or no, it'd be 400. Yeah, it'd be another 400 hit points, which, you know, that's reasonable. So maybe this wasn't the right thing to go for. Who knows? You don't know until you try. And finally, we need to go back to the main screen for this one. What are the missions? Win a whole lot of battles, that's pretty standard. Set a whole lot of fires, that's pretty standard. The Monarch, less battles and less fires than the Monarch requires. Destroy a whole lot of enemy cruisers, sounds pretty standard. And this one is destroy a whole lot of enemy battleships. So, there you go, King George V. It is, in summary, I forget. In summary, it is not the toughest of the ships. It's probably lower end of survivability, upper end of maneuverability. Its gun performance, its individual gun performance is mediocre, but that rapid, you know, the more rapid reload and the number of them makes up for that. And that fantastic HE means that, yeah, well, if you're a destroyer, good luck, have fun. Weak secondaries, much like the Monarch has the weakest secondaries, and surprisingly good AA. Compared to its compatriots for its tier. So there you go, King George V, nice looking ship. You know, looking forward to getting this one, and I'll definitely camo that up because that is quite a little beauty. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Wrong button.